And what happens with Rogan sometimes is he'll hear somebody that's on the dangerous end of the spectrum, and he'll just kind of soak it in.
And this is, I think this is a great point. And it's whoever job who thinks that that information is dangerous, to fight to get their point of view out there to counter what they think is misinformation. You can't just deputize people to say he should have known better and he should have prosecuted that point.
But the reality is, Jon, is that it might be my job or the New York Times job or even your job, but I don't have the audience that Joe Rogan does.
Then get it.
Yeah,
then find
get
people
it.
who do, then go on that show.
Jon Stewart has just accomplished the unexpected. He defended conservatives, and the liberal world is reeling. For years, many progressives have withheld empathy from conservatives, often treating them as less than human. But when Stewart crossed that unspoken boundary, it sent shockwaves through liberal circles. They were stunned by what they had heard. And in truth, so was I. There is a great deal to unpack in this moment, so let's begin.
You've been on Rogan a couple of times?
Yes.
What did you think of that experience, being on Joe Rogan?
I enjoyed being on Rogan. I think he's an interesting interviewer. There are right-wing, weaponized commentators whose sole purpose is to manipulate things to the benefit of the Bannon Project or the Project 2025. Rogan's not that guy.
What is that guy? How would you describe
That guy
him?
is a curious comic who fell into this thing that got enormous, maybe doesn't... has opinions all over the political spectrum, but has tendencies that people on the left does not fit the aesthetic.
Yes, you heard correctly. Jon Stewart, long celebrated as a champion of the left, has just extended a defense to Joe Rogan, sending tremors through liberal circles. For years, Rogan has been a persistent irritant to progressives, challenging hypocrisy and interrogating leftist politicians with a rare boldness. Rather than engaging with his critiques, many on the left resorted to vilification, branding him as dangerous, circulating misleading claims, and using him as a political punching bag. So when Stewart declined to join the pylon and instead defended Rogan's right to free expression, it struck the liberal establishment like a thunderclap. Suddenly, the unthinkable had occurred. One of their own had refused to follow the script.
He's a hunter.
In fairness, he's had people on who are kind of Nazi curious. That's not good.
I've interviewed Kissinger. And he was carpet bomb curious. I don't know what to say. It's very easy to castigate those where we're but he had an opinion a few years back that's, corrosive.
But the difference is when he was carpet bomb curious, you didn't say, oh yeah, that's awesome.
It is evident the interviewer was attempting to bait Jon Stewart into condemning Joe Rogan, but Stewart declined. Instead, he sidestepped the trap with the grace of a seasoned comedian who understands the game perfectly. For years, many on the left have branded Rogan as everything from problematic to an outright Nazi, weaponizing such labels to punish those who challenge liberal orthodoxy. The question was a deliberate attempt to corner Stewart, to pressure him into repeating that same facile accusation. But Stewart knew better. He recognized that the public is growing weary of the term Nazi being used to silence dissent. He understood that the word's power has been diluted by constant misuse, and that labeling every nonconformist as evil only deepens our divisions instead of building a bridge to dialogue.
And what happens with Rogan sometimes is he'll hear somebody that's on the dangerous end of the spectrum, and he'll just kind of soak it in.
I think this is a great point. And it's whoever job who thinks that that information is dangerous, to fight to get their point of view out there to counter what they think is misinformation. You can't just deputize people to say he should have known better and he should have prosecuted that point.
But the reality is, Jon, is that it might be my job or the New York Times job or even your job, but I don't have the audience that Joe Rogan does.
Then get it.
Yeah,
then find
get
people
it.
Who do, then go on that show.
Once again, Jon Stewart has refused to take the bait and attack Joe Rogan. The interviewer, echoing a familiar line of criticism from the left, raised the common accusation that Rogan spreads misinformation. This term has become a favored instrument for the left, used to brand any narrative that contradicts their own. Yet, when a story aligns with their worldview, it is suddenly deemed verified fact. Stewart saw through this double standard with clarity. Instead of joining the chorus of condemnation, he calmly exposed the absurdity of classifying divergent opinions as dangerous falsehoods. In doing so, he offered a vital reminder that debate and dissent are not crimes, but essential components of a functioning democracy. Stewart's refusal to condemn Rogan was more than an act of restraint. It was a quiet rebellion against a culture that mistakes control for truth.
Then do those things. Like it's not acceptable to just say, well, I don't like what he does. Then do it better, beat them at their own game. It's not enough to just complain that that guy got a platform and don't platform that guy. There's no one in this world right now that isn't platformed. And my biggest frustration, honestly, with a lot of scientists is they all go, RFK, oh, he's so up, that's terrible information. Oh, okay, what's the information?
I deeply appreciate the point Jon Stewart is making. If those on the left genuinely believe that conservatives or centrists are spreading misinformation, why not counter it with truth and evidence? This is the fundamental principle of debate in a free society. Yet, rather than engaging with opposing viewpoints, a common liberal impulse is to cancel, silence, or shame the person expressing them. The objective is not to prove you wrong through argument, but to have you removed from the conversation altogether. Stewart's argument strikes at the core of modern discourse. If your ideas are truly strong, they should not require censorship to prevail. However, the prevailing response from much of the left has shifted toward deplatforming instead of discussion. By simply advocating for honest debate and transparency, Stewart exposes a profound hypocrisy, that those who most loudly preach tolerance and open-mindedness are often the first to silence any voice that challenges their own narrative.
I've got people in my family that are to the right of Attila the Hun, and when people tell me, like, how can you platform that person on your show? I go, I platform my uncle every Thanksgiving. And by the way, I love him. He's a three-dimensional human being who has qualities that I really admire. Things about him, and we've lost that. We've lost the ability to love people because we litmus test at every point.
Jon Stewart is challenging the left for its increasing reluctance to engage with those outside its ideological bubble. He points to a culture where conversation is replaced by cancellation, and debate is supplanted by dismissal. Stewart contends that this reflexive hostility toward differing views is a primary force fracturing the nation. He argues that unity cannot be forged through silence or censorship, but only through candid, and often uncomfortable, dialogue. If progress is the true goal, he suggests, then liberals must cease depicting conservatives and centrists as villains and begin recognizing them as fellow citizens with legitimate perspectives. Stewart's message is both simple and profound. We cannot rebuild trust or mend divisions by shouting one another down. It begins with the choice to listen, especially when it is difficult. For a commentator who built his career on holding both sides accountable, his plea for understanding carries the unique weight of hard-earned perspective. Unsurprisingly, some on the left have already voiced their disapproval of his remarks.
Jeremy Fassler says on X, quote, "We'd come so much closer to solving racism in America if white people realized the nice relatives they sit across from at Thanksgiving wouldn't be so nice to them if they weren't white." And writer Josh Olson says, quote, "The right wants to take basic human rights away from multiple members of my family and other people I love. No one who shares those views is welcome in my home or my family, ever. Jon Stewart is so wrong on this, it's jaw-dropping."
This is precisely the dynamic Jon Stewart has highlighted. The left has grown so deeply entrenched in its own ideology that it often dismisses opposing viewpoints out of hand. Debate has been supplanted by a sense of moral infallibility, where dissent is frequently labeled as intolerance or hatred. For many progressives, policies concerning gender transitions for minors or the inclusion of biological males in women's sports and private spaces are presented as unambiguous matters of human rights. However, they frequently overlook the legitimate frustrations, fears, and emotional distress experienced by others who are impacted by these changes. Stewart's central argument is not about choosing a side, but about acknowledging that empathy cannot be applied selectively. If one group's rights are paramount, then the concerns of another cannot be simply dismissed. To ignore this complexity is not an act of compassion. It is arrogance disguised as virtue.
Joe Rogan is a comedian and actor and game show host who is curious and started doing this podcast where he platforms, even that word is getting to be so annoying. He interviews, has conversations with a wide variety of people, from people on the right, the very far right, to people on the very far left, including Bernie Sanders. This is one of the biggest shows there is. The audience is massive. If Kamala Harris had availed herself of the opportunity to be on it and do a good job, it would have helped her. She lacked, I think, confidence that she would do a good job, so she didn't do it.
This assessment is accurate. Joe Rogan engages with anyone prepared for a genuine dialogue. His show has consistently served as an open platform, not a partisan echo chamber, hosting a diverse range of voices from scientists and politicians to comedians and everyday individuals. However, his widely discussed interview with Kamala Harris never materialized, and the reason is telling. Reports indicate that Harris's team was hesitant, apprehensive that she would face challenges in a lengthy, unfiltered conversation where sound bites and pre-approved talking points would offer little protection. Rogan even offered to tailor the questions to her comfort level, yet she still declined. This is not the mark of confidence, but rather a fear of transparency. Rogan's platform rewards authenticity over rehearsed rhetoric, and Harris was evidently unprepared for that. Ultimately, her refusal to participate communicated more than any answer she might have given.
Not every single Rogan episode or interview takes the conversation in exactly a direction I would or I like, but that's fine. It's not exactly for me. It's for a wide swath of real Americans who have confusing views and views that are all over the place. They have right-wing views on social issues and left-wing views on economic issues, or vice versa. And David Remnick was like, "Oh, this is Nazi adjacent." Well, yeah, people have Nazi-adjacent views out there, and you could no longer just ignore this kind of speaks to what I talked about in my radar. We no longer live in a world where there's a small number of TV channels and a small number of book publishers.
Joe Rogan's perspectives and dialogues are a varied mix, blending left-leaning opinions, right-wing arguments, and centrist views into a consistently unpredictable program. You can never be certain which direction the conversation will turn, and that is precisely what captivates his millions of listeners. Even when his guests challenge or frustrate his core audience, they remain engaged. This is because Rogan's platform is not designed to construct an echo chamber, but to dismantle one. The objective is not to validate pre-existing beliefs, but to test them against opposing ideas and observe which ones withstand scrutiny. In a media environment where most programs cater to their own faction, Rogan's podcast is a rare arena for authentic debate. It is messy, imperfect, and unvarnished. Yet this is the very source of its power. It is a conversation, not a sermon, and that is exactly what our society needs more of.
You can effectively keep views that you think are too extreme outside of that you can keep them out of being discussed. You just can't do that anymore. The internet has made that impossible. So the reality is you're going to have to live alongside with people who are spouting views you don't agree with and find out how to. And some of these views are very dangerous and should be argued against, but you have to actually do that work, do that labor. You can't just say, it's wrong to engage them, they're going to go away.
As Bill Maher often notes, the only way to truly defeat bad speech is with better speech. You do not combat ignorance by censoring it, but by exposing it, challenging it with facts and reason. This is the foundation of a functioning democracy. If those on the left genuinely believe conservatives or centrists are spreading misinformation, the solution is not to cancel them or erase their voices from public discourse. It is to engage them directly, to debate openly, present stronger arguments, and allow truth to prevail on its own merit. Yet, too often, the left opts for avoidance over engagement, as if ignoring opponents will make them vanish. This approach only deepens division and fosters distrust. While dialogue can be uncomfortable, it is the essential mechanism through which free societies evolve and maintain intellectual honesty. In the end, Jon Stewart's defense of Joe Rogan transcends politics. It is about principle. It serves as a vital reminder that free speech and open dialogue are the bedrock of a healthy society. Silencing opposing views does not eliminate them. It merely drives them underground. Stewart's stance, echoed by figures like Bill Maher, calls on the left to elevate itself above cancel culture and rediscover the power of debate over demonization. True progress is born from conversation, not censorship. Whether you agree with Rogan or not, defending his right to speak freely safeguards the right of everyone to be heard. And that is what genuine liberalism once stood for. On that note, we bring today's discussion to a close. If you appreciated this video, please like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.